Hi everyone, it's me, Miles at Teach Me Music Academy, and today we're going to be looking into all the different elements of music, or sound if you will. So, why is this important when you're playing piano? Well, the piano is a very expressive instrument. In fact, its original name was pianoforte. Now, if you know your classical music or you speak Italian, you might know that piano means quiet in Italian and forte means loud. So it was literally called a quiet loud because you could play very quietly and very loud, a big range of dynamics. Now it also has a big range of pitch too, right? You can play very low notes, very high notes. It has a big range of everything really. So you can be very, very expressive on a piano. And for this reason, piano is one of the easiest instruments to learn, but also one of the most difficult. And what do I mean by that? It's probably the easiest to get started on because all you have to do to produce a sound is press a key down. It's not difficult and you get a sound instantly. Now if you're playing trumpet or violin or something like that, you need to learn some technique before you can even produce a decent sound. So those instruments are more difficult to start, but with a piano, it can be infinitely easy and infinitely difficult because there's so much room for expression. You can do so much or so little. So we need to talk about all the different ways you can express musical ideas on a piano. Now, when you're starting to learn songs, these things I'm going to be talking about, you're going to want to actively think about all these things when you're playing a song. Because playing a song isn't just about playing the notes in the right order. There's so much more to it than that. If you think of a computer keyboard and a keyboard, a musical keyboard, there's a big difference, right? If you want to type a word in on a computer, you just press one letter after another until you get that word, right? As long as you press the right letters in the right order, you get that word. Now, it doesn't matter if it takes you 1 second or 1 day, at some point you get that word, right? You put the right words together in the right order, you get a sentence. Fine. Does it matter which rhythm you press the keys in? No. Does it matter how hard you press the keys? Not really. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, on a computer keyboard, you can press the right letters in the right order and you get the right result. Now, it's not that simple on a piano. A lot of beginners will play in this way. They'll go, okay, this song goes C, D, C, G, C, or whatever. I'm just making it up. But they give it no thought beyond that. Now, you want to be thinking about a lot more than just that. So, if you've watched the note names video, you'll know how to label all the white notes, and if you watch the sharp and flats video, you know how they work. So, obviously, you know that there's the pattern in the black keys, and that determines which note you're going to play. So, playing different notes, that's what we call pitch. You can play high notes, low notes, middle notes. You can put different notes together to make a pattern. You can go up, you can go down, you can do a mixture, etc., etc. That is what we call pitch, right? The different notes that we play. So, that's important, obviously. I'm sure you all know that. Okay, next we have our rhythm. So the rhythm is how we fit those notes into a given time frame. So if you want to learn more about rhythm, go and check out the rhythm video. But in a nutshell, say if you've got a 4 count, steady 4 count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's your beat. And the rhythm is how you fit the notes around that beat. Right, whatever. So that's your rhythm. Now, I'm going to play 2 notes. I want you to tell me what the difference between these 2 notes are. Have a think about this. This is going to be our next element. So, here's the first one. Here's the second one. I press the first key softly, which gives us a quiet sound, and I press the second key with a little bit more force, which gives us a louder sound. Now I understand that some of you, if you've got maybe cheaper keyboards with spring action keys, you might not be able to do this. Not all keyboards allow you to play around with the volume. So this one might not apply to some of you, but it's worth listening to anyway, because if you upgrade your keyboard at some point to something more like this, then you can be a little bit more expressive with your dynamics, and that's what the musical term is for volume. We call it dynamics, okay? So that's our third element, dynamics. Next, we have speed. So we call this tempo music. Tempo is just how fast or slow you play a piece. That's obviously important. You don't want to play something really a lot faster than it should be, or you don't want to play something a lot slower than it should be. Now what beginners do, they basically try to play everything as fast as they can. You know, if they're playing this. Right? That's a slow, sad piece. That was me, not Sonata Beethoven. You don't want to play it like this. Way too fast, way too aggressive, way too loud. That's not what it's supposed to be at all. Maybe when you get to the third movement, then you can let go a little bit, right? Then you can, you know, start trying to impress people. But some songs are there to be impressive, and you can play those fast, and you know, and some songs are there to sound sweet, and you know, maybe you want to make someone cry, maybe you want to send someone to sleep. There's all different kind of emotions that can be expressed with music, and you need to really think about what is the song that you're playing trying to convey. What emotion is that song trying to express? And you should be using these elements of music to express that. Okay, so that was tempo. We've got one more thing, the fifth element of music. Again, I'm going to play two notes. I want you to tell me what the difference is. Here we go. Here's note number one. Here's note number two. So, the difference was the length of the note. So the first one, I held the note down. The second one, I came straight off the note. So when you're playing piano or keyboard, sometimes it's just as important when you take your fingers off the keys as it is when you press the keys down. This is called phrasing. Phrasing is, if you think of singers, right? Let's take a simple pop tune. Let's take Shotgun by George Ezra. I know that's a popular one. So especially when you're playing vocal lines on piano, you want to try and play it as they sing it to get it as close to the original as possible. Now, there's two different kinds of phrasings. One, we have staccato, which is short, disconnected notes. And on the other hand, we have legato, which is long, connected notes. There's no gap from one note to the other. And obviously you can do something in between those two as well. You know, you hold the note down a little bit, there's still a little bit of a gap between each note. So let's go back to Shotgun then. So very simple melody, it's the same thing 3 times. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like a someone. Okay? So if you listen to that carefully, the vocal line, it's mostly legato, right? So you wouldn't play it like this. Because that would mean he would sing it like, I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like someone. He doesn't sing it like that. But there is one note in there that's a little bit staccato if you listen very carefully. I'll be riding shotgun, shotgun. So the shot in shotgun is staccato. It's not, I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun. Doesn't really sing it like that. I'll be riding shotgun. There's a little gap. Now, listening out for those details in vocal lines is a good way to get started about thinking about utilizing that for the piano. And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who play vocal parts on the piano. It's a very popular thing to do. So you can integrate this into your playing now, thinking about the phrasing. Cool. So those are our 5 elements of music or sound, and we can express all of those on the piano, as I've just showed you. So let's take a piece of music, and I'll use that to demonstrate some of these. So let's take FOURTEENTH by Beethoven. I'm sure you know this one. Okay. So let's try and play that in 2 opposing ways. So first of all, we've got our pitch. For example, I'm going to play all the same notes in the same order, but maybe we can drop it down an octave or take it up an octave. So let's say for this one, we're going to play it up an octave, so it's going to be a higher pitch. And then we've got our rhythm. I'm going to keep the rhythm the same. If I change the rhythm, it is really going to sound a lot different. Right, that was a slightly different rhythm. We're going to keep the rhythm the same for this one. And then we have dynamics. So I'm going to play it quietly. We have tempo, I'm going to play it slow. And we have phrasing, I'm going to play legato, so long smooth notes, okay? So I've got high pitch, same rhythm. We have, it's going to be quiet, it's going to be slow, and it's going to have legato phrasing. So check it out, this is how it sounds. Okay, what about the opposite of all of those? So we're going to play it at a lower pitch, again same rhythm. We're going to play it loud, we're going to play it fast, and we're going to play it staccato. Check out the difference. Very different sounds. Right? So you need to be thinking about all this stuff when you play. So obviously that is 2 different ways of expressing that piece. In my opinion, this piece can be expressed in different ways. Some pieces not so much. Some pieces you do have more leeway than others. So that's where, you know, artistic expression comes into it. Do you want it to sound slow and pretty, or do you want it to sound fast and exciting? I think this is one of those pieces where it's kind of up to the performer. So, you know, taking those elements from music that we've learned about, I can play it slow and soft. Make it very emotional. Or I can play it fast and exciting and try and impress people. Great. Okay, so hopefully that showed you how using all these elements of music can drastically change the mood and expression of a piece. So this one is really, really important. It's foundational in your playing, and it's going to set you apart from other people who perhaps don't think about these things so much. So, as always, I hope you've learned something from this video, and I will see you in the next one.